Alright, everyone, welcome back. So, the Arizona Coyotes have lost 10 straight games. And ironically, it falls on our day of their trade deadline preview. So, obviously, with the Arizona Coyotes, they have been in this rebuilding stage for a while. But they more or less feel like they're coming out of it. It feels like they're showing signs of improvement. However, this 10-game winning streak put them from a team that was pretty much right below the playoff line, contending for a wild card spot, to almost out of the race. It's not been so good. As of right now, they are currently 23, 28, and 4 for 50 points. They are 7th overall in the Central Division. And it factors into that their schedule hasn't been too great. They've been playing a lot of very solid teams. So obviously a team that is rebuilding equals losses, obviously. And as well as that too, teams like Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, all of them improving is obviously going to make Arizona fall down in the standings. So as of right now, they have $2.9 million in cap space. So that shouldn't surprise anyone. That's their projected cap space, not the amount of cap space they probably currently have, but what their projected cap space is going to be. Obviously, they're still in that stage where they're taking on bad contracts. They're taking on guys for rental deals, more or less, so they can flip them at the trade deadline. And that was what the expectation was heading into the season. However, with the point in time where they did play well, there was some talks that maybe they could be conservative buyers, but now no, they're sellers. There was no question they were going to be sellers, even when they were in the playoff race and they were playing pretty solid. Now it just shows that, yeah, this team's not a playoff team, and they will 100% be sellers. So, your UFAs and RFAs goes as follows. Your unrestricted free agents are Jason Zucker, Liam O'Brien, Brown, Dermott, Voracek, Brian Little, Matt Dumba, Travis Boyd, and Troy Stecher. So, one thing I want to keep in mind, a lot of their guys that I'm going to bring into this are blue liners. However, their entire defense is being stripped. Their entire defense is expiring this year. So, they've had chances to revamp their entire blue line. And there's been signs of positivity with some of these players, which is why I think a lot of them will stay. However, guys like Matt Dumba, we're probably going to see get moved. Other guys like maybe Troy Stecher gets moved. It's a possibility that might happen. So guys like Zucker, I think Zucker probably gets moved if they can try and move him for a solid third-round pick. He's a guy that will get moved likely on deadline day for a second or third-round pick, which is what the Coyotes have been acquiring. So obviously that plays a factor there too. Liam O'Brien, not a bad fourth liner. Has seen himself not really in the lineup all too often this year. Josh Brown, not a big name defenseman, neither with Travis Dermott. Voracek, Little have both been guys that are on LTIR, probably will never play again, and have just been taking up money on LTIR for the Coyotes. They will not get signed, and they will be expired fully. I believe both of them have actually retired. Voracek, not so much. I think Little has. But regardless, obviously, they're still, they have not played games with the Coyotes ever. So, Matt Dumba, I've said, is probably going to get moved. There has been talks that they need to shoot him to the moon. I am not saying that literally, but obviously, he's a guy that is probably going to be one of the number one priorities to move in Arizona. Troy Stecher might be the same thing. We may see another instance of what happened last year where they move him over to another team, let's say, for assets. That could happen, so we'll obviously find out there if that is what eventually happens. Your RFAs now go as follows. You got Adam Ruzicka, Sean Dursey, Yusuf Alamaki, Michael Kesselring, Yanis Moser, Barrett Hayden, and Ilya Kolinachuk. So, I believe I said that last one right. So, again, going back to what I said with all their blue liners expiring, this is where the majority of them are. The majority of them are restricted free agents. Ruzicka, they could extend, they might not. It really depends on how he does in this next stretch of the season. We'll see how he does. He might get traded too. He was just claimed off of waivers this year, so I don't really expect him to get traded. Sean Dursey, I don't see him getting moved. I think he's one of the players they want to keep as this cornerstone for this blue line. So he will get signed to probably a pretty hefty contract. And it's probably the best defenseman on this Coyotes blue line, if we're being virtually honest. Valimaki, too. A guy who's young, could stay in Arizona as well. Kesselring, another guy who has come up, has played pretty well. I imagine he stays too. Moser, same thing. Barrett Hayton, a guy that will stay, even though there's been talks about, saying he's a bust and such and such. He probably will stay. And then Kolyachuk, he might stay for some minor move because he's been in the minor league majority, but we'll find out. But yeah, those are your UFAs and RFAs. The main conception is that they are going to be sellers. But what is your needs? You want depth, and you probably want offensive options. Now, even though I'm saying that when they're going to be sellers, this team isn't going full-blown sell anymore. I can't tell you how many draft picks this team has in just the second and third round in the next couple of years. They own like at least a third of the next third-round picks and second-round picks. It's crazy how many they have. With that being said, they have guys that they could move for second-round picks. But if you're Arizona, you may be looking for players who are A, young, and B, have plenty of term. You could be looking for a guy like, let's say, I don't know, Anton Lindell in Florida, potentially. That's not saying that, Lindell's going to get moved. But that is an option that the Coyotes could realistically think of if they're trying to find young players with term. That's probably what they're going to try and go for here. Young offensive players and try and move things like that. Now, what does that mean for your movable pieces? You can move those second and third round picks because you have so many of them, and it'd be a good option to utilize it. And it's not a bad move to have them either. You could build up your prospect pool. But honestly, if I'm Doug Armstrong or if I'm Bill Armstrong, I think I would want to move those, to be honest. You got Jason Zucker, Liam O'Brien, and Karel Vejmelka. I haven't gotten to Vejmelka in a little bit. Vejmelka was a guy who was talked about earlier on in the season, saying that he could get traded. He could. I'm not too sure if it's likely now. His numbers have been kind of troubling a little bit, but obviously we shall find out there. But yeah, that is your trade deadline preview, more or less, for the Arizona Coyotes. This team is not a playoff team by any means. They lack consistency. That's the biggest thing I've said. And they're going to be sellers. So, yeah, anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.